Ladies and gentlemen, Tahajjud is one of the most beautiful gifts Allah has given to His servants, a quiet time in the night when the world sleeps, but the heart awakens. It is a time when the soul becomes closer to its Creator, when whispered du'as are heard before the first light of dawn, when Allah's mercy flows like a river to the hearts that rise for Him. Yet we know life is busy, responsibilities press down, and many find it difficult to pray at night consistently. But what if I told you that Allah, in His infinite mercy, has given us a shortcut, a way to capture the spiritual essence of Tahajjud, even if we cannot wake in the middle of the night? There are two verses from the Qur'an that carry such weight, such immense spiritual reward, that reciting them with sincerity and reflection can replace the Tahajjud prayer for those who are unable to pray at night. These are not just ordinary verses, they are a direct line to Allah's mercy, a doorway to His forgiveness, and a means of purification for the heart. These ayahs remind us that Allah does not measure us by our busyness or our inability to wake, but by the sincerity of our hearts and the intention behind our remembrance. The first of these ayahs is from Surah Al-Ikhlas. Say, He is Allah, who is one, Allah the eternal refuge. He neither begets nor is born, nor is there to Him any equivalent. This verse carries within it the essence of monotheism, the purity of belief, and the focus of the heart entirely on Allah. Reciting it with understanding, with reflection, and with heartfelt intention awakens the soul in ways that mirror the serenity of Tahajjud. It is a verse that purifies the heart from distractions, doubts, and the weight of worldly worries, just as the night prayer purifies the soul from the fatigue and noise of the day. The second of these ayahs is from Surah Al-Falaq. Say, I seek refuge in the Lord of daybreak from the evil of what He created, from the darkness when it settles, from the harm of the envier when he envies. This verse is a shield, a protection, and a heartfelt dua rolled into a few words. Just as Tahajjud is a time to seek Allah's mercy and protection, this ayah allows the believer to connect deeply with the One who is the source of all safety and refuge. In moments of fear, stress, or uncertainty, reciting this verse reminds the heart that Allah is watching, protecting, and responding in ways we cannot see. It is an act of worship that awakens the soul to Allah's presence, even in the darkest hours. The Qur'an teaches us that remembrance is not limited by time or place. While Tahajjud is a special moment, Allah's mercy is limitless. Through these ayahs we are reminded that even if our circumstances prevent us from performing certain acts of worship, Allah provides alternative means for us to attain closeness to Him. These verses encapsulate both the love of Allah and the hope He instills in His servants, showing that sincerity and intention are what truly matter in the eyes of the Almighty. Real-life reflections show us the power of these ayahs. People who recite them consistently experience tranquility in their hearts, clarity in their minds, and guidance in moments of difficulty. One person might find doors opening in their career after seeking refuge in Allah through these verses. Another might witness healing in a relationship or relief from anxiety simply through the heartfelt repetition of these words. These are signs from Allah that His mercy is never delayed, and His help arrives precisely when it is meant to. This is a reminder for all of us. Do not postpone what you can do for your soul today. Engage with these ayahs regularly, reflect upon their meaning, and let them guide your heart toward Allah's mercy. Surrender your heart fully, trust His timing, and prepare yourself for the blessings that are waiting, blessings that often arrive in ways more profound than we imagine. Tahajjud is one of the most beautiful and spiritually powerful acts of worship in Islam. Yet it is also one of the most challenging for many believers. It requires rising from a comfortable sleep, often in the deepest part of the night, when the world is silent and the soul is vulnerable. This quiet time is a gift from Allah, a chance to step away from distractions, responsibilities, and worldly noise, and to focus entirely on the One who created you. In the stillness of the night, your heart speaks freely, your soul feels light, and the whispers of your du'as are heard directly by the Most Merciful. Tahajjud is not just a prayer. It is a conversation with Allah, a dialogue where the heart expresses what the tongue often cannot, and the soul finds rest that the day could never provide. The significance of Tahajjud is immense because it demonstrates sincerity and dedication. When a person wakes in the middle of the night to pray, they are showing Allah that their love, reliance, and devotion are stronger than their desire for comfort and sleep. This act is not about showing others or earning praise. It is about being alone with Allah, acknowledging His greatness and seeking His guidance and mercy. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ described the night prayer as a means for believers to draw near to Allah, to find forgiveness, and to have their hearts illuminated with peace. It is a time when the soul is at its most receptive, when distractions are minimal, and when the divine presence can be felt in its purest form. Tahajjud also serves as a spiritual reset. The pressures of daily life weigh heavily on the heart, and worries, fears, and stress accumulate with each passing day. The night prayer allows the believer to release these burdens in a sacred space where Allah listens with complete attention and mercy. Each prostration, each whispered dua, each verse recited with reflection cleanses the heart, strengthens faith, and rekindles hope. It is a moment when the believer can ask for guidance, seek forgiveness, and realign priorities, knowing that Allah is listening, understanding, and responding in the best way. Moreover, Tahajjud is a sign of hope and spiritual resilience. It tells the believer that no matter how difficult the day has been, no matter how heavy the heart feels, there is always a time to turn back to Allah and find solace. It reinforces the concept that faith is not limited to daylight hours or public worship. True devotion is measured by the consistency and sincerity of the heart, even in moments when no one else is watching. The act of rising in the quiet of the night is a declaration of reliance on Allah, a recognition that the heart finds its ultimate rest not in sleep, comfort, or worldly achievements, but in communion with the Creator. The beauty of Tahajjud lies not only in its spiritual rewards, but also in its transformative power. It shapes the believer into a person of patience, humility, and perseverance. Those who engage in night prayer often develop a deeper sense of empathy, greater emotional control, and a heightened awareness of Allah's presence throughout the day. The quiet moments spent in prayer teach lessons that extend beyond the night: gratitude for life, patience in trials, and hope in Allah's perfect plan. Each repetition, each verse, each bow, and prostration builds a bridge between the heart and the divine, fostering a connection that sustains the believer through challenges, doubts, and fears. Tahajjud is also a reminder of Allah's mercy and generosity. The night, which seems empty and silent, is actually filled with opportunities for forgiveness, guidance, and spiritual elevation. It is a time when sins are forgiven, prayers are accepted, and hearts are purified. The believer who wakes to pray in these hours demonstrates a level of devotion and trust that inspires hope, both for themselves and for others who witness the quiet transformation of the soul. It is in Tahajjud that the heart learns to speak when the tongue is quiet, to hope when circumstances seem dark, and to trust completely in the one who is all-hearing, all-seeing, and infinitely merciful. There are moments when the heart longs for closeness to Allah, when the soul aches to rise in prayer during the quiet of the night, but circumstances, weakness, or responsibilities prevent us from performing Tahajjud consistently. Allah, in His infinite mercy, does not leave the believer without alternatives. He has granted us certain verses from the Qur'an that carry immense spiritual weight, so powerful that reciting them with sincerity can capture the essence of the night prayer, offering a connection to Allah that is deep, transformative, and blessed. These two ayahs serve as a spiritual shortcut, a reminder that Allah values the heart's intention and the sincerity of worship over the difficulty of the act itself, and that even if we cannot rise at night, we can still draw near to Him through His words. The first of these ayahs is from Surah Al-Ikhlas. Say, He is Allah, who is one, Allah the eternal refuge. He neither begets nor is born, nor is there to Him any equivalent. This verse encapsulates the essence of Tawhid, the purity of faith in Allah's oneness, and the acknowledgement that He alone is sufficient for all needs. Reciting this verse with contemplation is like performing a spiritual reset, as it draws the heart away from worldly distractions and towards the Creator. Each word carries weight. Recognizing Allah as one, eternal, and self-sufficient reinforces the believer's dependence on Him alone. Just as Tahajjud purifies the heart through extended prayer and reflection, the repeated recitation of Al-Ikhlas strengthens faith, deepens conviction, and nurtures an intimate awareness of Allah's presence in every moment. The verse becomes a source of inner peace, a quiet reflection on the vastness of Allah's mercy and power, and a reminder that true solace comes not from people, possessions, or circumstances, but from the one who created us. The second of these ayahs is from Surah Al-Falaq. Say, I seek refuge in the Lord of daybreak from the evil of what He created, from the darkness when it settles, from the harm of the envier when he envies. This verse serves as a shield, offering protection from external and internal harm. Just as Tahajjud is a time to seek Allah's guidance, forgiveness, and protection, reciting Al-Falaq allows the believer to connect deeply with the one who safeguards hearts and lives. It addresses fear, anxiety, and uncertainty, reminding the believer that Allah is the ultimate protector against all forms of harm. Through this verse, one turns the heart toward reliance on Allah, recognizing His power over every hidden danger, every whisper of the enemy, and every envy that might lurk unseen. The simple act of reciting it with awareness can transform moments of vulnerability into acts of worship, mirroring the spiritual benefits of waking for night prayer. These two ayahs together create a balance between affirmation of faith and seeking protection. They encompass the essence of spiritual awakening that Tahajjud offers, recognizing Allah's greatness, purifying the heart, seeking refuge from harm, and submitting fully to His will. The Qur'an teaches that remembrance of Allah is not limited to specific times or actions. It is the sincerity of the heart and the mindfulness of the believer that determine the value of worship. Through these verses, even those unable to rise at night can achieve a level of closeness to Allah, experiencing peace, purification, and divine connection. Many believers testify to the transformative effects of regularly reciting these ayahs. Hearts soften, clarity emerges in times of confusion, and guidance appears in situations that once seemed uncertain. A person who is burdened by worry may find comfort in the repetition of these verses, much like the serenity experienced after Tahajjud. Others may witness subtle changes in their daily lives, opportunities opening, challenges easing, or relationships improving, as a reflection of the spiritual elevation attained through these simple yet profound acts of remembrance. The beauty of these ayahs lies in their accessibility and universality. No matter one's circumstances, fatigue, or limitations, the believer can engage with them at any time, drawing near to Allah and capturing the essence of night prayer. They remind us that Allah's mercy is not bound by human ability, that the heart's intention holds immeasurable value, and that even the smallest acts of remembrance, when done sincerely, carry immense reward. The Qur'an is filled with guidance on the power of remembrance, reflection, and connection with Allah, and it teaches us that sincere engagement with His words can transform the heart in profound ways. The two ayahs that can replace Tahajjud are not just ordinary verses, they are vessels of divine wisdom, encapsulating the essence of worship, protection, and spiritual elevation. When we recite these verses with understanding and concentration, we are following the Qur'anic principle that true worship is measured not merely by physical acts, but by the sincerity, presence of heart, and mindfulness that accompany them. The Qur'an repeatedly emphasizes that Allah looks at the heart and intention, and that even acts that appear small in worldly terms can carry immense weight in the hereafter if performed with devotion. Surah Al-Ikhlas, the first of these two ayahs, is a complete declaration of faith. It communicates the oneness of Allah, His self-sufficiency, and His absolute uniqueness. When a believer recites this verse with reflection, it is as though they are performing an entire act of worship in a few words. The Qur'an teaches that acknowledgement of Tawheed is the foundation of all deeds, and that the heart that recognizes Allah's ownness is purified of shirk and doubt. By internalizing Al-Ikhlas, the believer engages in a deep spiritual form of Tawheed that mirrors the devotion expressed in Tahajjud. It nurtures humility, reminds the heart of reliance on Allah alone, and fosters a sense of peace and contentment that is otherwise difficult to attain in the distractions of daily life. The Qur'an frames belief in Allah's uniqueness as both a source of guidance and a shield against the misguidance of the world, demonstrating that reflection on even a single verse can have the spiritual impact of an extended night prayer. Surah Al-Falah, the second ayah, complements this by focusing on seeking protection and refuge in Allah. The Qur'an repeatedly emphasizes the importance of recognizing Allah as the ultimate guardian, one who shields us from harm that may be visible or unseen. Al-Falaq addresses vulnerability, fear, and the unseen forces that can affect the believer, offering a direct and concise way to seek refuge. The Qur'an teaches that seeking protection from Allah is not merely a defensive act, but also an affirmation of reliance and trust. Just as Tahajjud allows believers to pour their hearts to Allah and seek guidance and mercy, Al-Falaq provides a structured, profound way to turn to Allah in moments of uncertainty. It reflects the Quranic theme that true security comes only through remembrance, and that the heart that trusts Allah finds calm even in the face of trials. The Quranic wisdom behind these two verses demonstrates a deep understanding of human nature and spirituality. Humans are often distracted, burdened, or unable to perform acts of worship at certain times due to weakness, fatigue, or worldly responsibilities. Allah, in His mercy, provides accessible means to maintain spiritual connection. The Quran emphasizes that acts of remembrance, recitation, and reflection can substitute for physical effort when performed with sincerity. This is a recurring theme throughout the Quran: the value of the heart's intention, the power of remembrance, and the importance of connecting with Allah through the mind and spirit even when circumstances prevent more demanding acts of worship. These verses also embody the Quranic principle that Allah's mercy is vast and His guidance flexible. By highlighting these ayahs, as capable of replacing tahajjud in terms of spiritual reward and connection. The Qur'an reassures the believer that limitations in human capacity are acknowledged and accommodated. The spiritual essence of night prayer, the turning of the heart toward Allah, seeking closeness, protection, and guidance, is fully present in these verses. The Qur'an thus teaches that it is not only the physical act of prayer that matters, but the depth of remembrance, sincerity, and reliance on Allah, contained in the heart. Engaging with these ayahs regularly, with reflection and mindfulness, aligns perfectly with the Quranic vision of worship. The believer's heart is awakened, fortified, and aligned with divine guidance. The Quran shows that even short acts, when infused with intention and devotion, can bring immense spiritual growth. Through Al-Ikhlas and Al-Falah, one experiences purification, protection, and closeness to Allah, mirroring the transformative benefits of tahajjud, and fulfilling the Quranic promise that remembrance of Allah enriches the heart, elevates the soul, and draws the believer nearer to their Lord. There are countless moments in life when we fail to recognize the signs that Allah sends us, moments when blessings, guidance, and opportunities pass by unnoticed because we are too distracted or preoccupied with worldly concerns. Yet when we engage with the Quran sincerely, and in particular with the two ayahs that can replace tahajjud, these signs become unmistakable, illuminating the path in ways that feel both gentle and profound. Real-life experiences reveal that those who recite these verses with mindfulness often find themselves surrounded by subtle yet powerful reminders of Allah's presence, mercy, and guidance. These signs arrive at the precise moment when the heart is ready, reflecting the perfect timing of the most merciful. Consider a person burdened by anxiety, uncertainty, or fear. In the quiet of the day, they recite Surah Al-Ikhlas, reflecting deeply on Allah's ownness and sufficiency. Slowly, a shift occurs in their heart. Situations that seemed overwhelming begin to feel manageable. Relationships that were tense find ease, and opportunities that appeared distant now move closer. This is not coincidence. It is the manifestation of Allah's mercy, responding to sincere remembrance. By internalizing the verse, the believer tunes their heart to perceive divine signs in the world, small occurrences that guide, protect, and inspire. Perhaps a timely word of advice comes from a friend, or a chance meeting unfolds that opens a new door in their life, or an inner clarity arises in a previously confusing situation. These moments are signs from Allah, showing that He is listening, orchestrating, and caring for His servant at the perfect time. Similarly, Surah Al-Falah serves a beacon of protection and reassurance. Those who consistently recite it find a heightened sense of security and peace in their hearts. They begin to notice subtle ways in which Allah intervenes. Obstacles that could have harmed them are removed, envy and negativity around them diminish, and challenges that seemed insurmountable become manageable. The recitation is not a magical charm, it is a spiritual practice that sensitizes the heart to perceive Allah's active presence in daily life. For instance, someone facing persistent tension at work may notice that after turning to these verses, conflicts resolve more easily, or guidance comes in unexpected ways. They recognize that their reliance on Allah is being met with timely relief, and that their faith is being strengthened through both patience and spiritual awareness. Real-life stories of these ayahs, replacing tahajjud, often illustrate how Allah sends signs at the most critical moments. A student struggling with exams might find sudden clarity and focus after reciting these verses with heartfelt intention, realizing that the peace in their heart is itself a sign of Allah's support. A person facing health challenges may encounter small but crucial coincidences, correct diagnoses, timely treatment options, or emotional support arriving just when needed, all of which affirm that Allah is guiding them even if the night prayer could not be performed. The heart learns to recognize these subtle interventions as evidence of divine care, reinforcing the idea that Allah's wisdom always precedes our understanding. Moreover, these signs serve to deepen the believer's trust and surrender. When blessings arrive in unexpected forms, when protection manifests in unseen ways, or when guidance comes at the precise moment it is needed, the heart becomes more attuned to Allah's timing. The recitation of these two ayahs conditions the believer to notice patterns of divine assistance in everyday life, the way opportunities align perfectly, how relief comes after hardship, and how moments of insight arrive when the soul is ready to receive them. It is through this heightened awareness that the believer experiences a sense of hope and reassurance, realizing that even small consistent acts of remembrance can produce profound outcomes. The repetition of these verses becomes a spiritual lens, allowing the believer to interpret ordinary events as signs of Allah's mercy and involvement. A kind word from a stranger, a sudden opening in a seemingly closed situation, or an inner feeling of clarity or peace, all of these become tangible reminders of Allah's presence. In this way, reciting the two ayahs not only replaces the physical act of tahajjud,
but also cultivates a heightened sensitivity to the divine orchestration in one's life. Each sign strengthens faith, nurtures hope, and encourages patience, illustrating how Allah communicates through subtle, perfectly timed guidance that transforms ordinary life into a series of meaningful, spiritually charged moments. Engaging consistently with these two powerful ayahs is more than a mere act of recitation. It is an invitation to transform your heart, align your intentions, and prepare your soul for the blessings that Allah has destined for you. Just as tahajjud requires dedication, sacrifice, and the conscious effort to rise above comfort, these ayahs demand sincerity, reflection, and mindfulness. By approaching them with the same devotion that one would give to night prayer, the believer cultivates a habit of turning toward Allah regularly, fostering a sense of closeness that strengthens faith, nurtures hope, and builds resilience in the face of life's challenges. This practice teaches the heart that proximity to Allah does not always require grand gestures. Even small, consistent actions performed with intention have immense spiritual value. The heart that embraces these ayahs learns the art of surrender. In moments of difficulty, the believer begins to recognize that control lies not in human effort alone, but in the wisdom and timing of Allah. Reciting Surah Al-Ikhlas and Surah Al-Falah with reflection encourages the realization that Allah's plans are perfect, that His protection is comprehensive, and that His mercy encompasses all aspects of life. As the believer internalizes these truths, they develop patience, humility, and trust. The recitation becomes a conduit for letting go of anxieties, releasing fears, and submitting entirely to divine will. In this surrender, the heart finds a peace that is unmatched by worldly reassurance. The believer understands that their efforts, while necessary, are complemented and perfected by Allah's guidance, timing, and mercy. These ayahs also cultivate a sense of urgency and awareness in the believer. They remind us that life is fleeting, and that moments for spiritual connection should not be postponed. Just as waking for tahajjud reflects a proactive effort to seek closeness with Allah, regularly reciting these verses ensures that the heart remains attuned to His presence throughout the day. Each recitation becomes a moment of preparation, a reminder to maintain sincerity in actions, to guard intentions, and to continuously seek Allah's guidance and protection. This awareness transforms ordinary routines into spiritual opportunities, creating a rhythm of remembrance that strengthens both faith and character. In addition, these verses teach the believer about balance. While tahajjud is physically demanding, reciting the two ayahs is accessible at any time, allowing consistent engagement with the Qur'an, even when circumstances are challenging. This accessibility reflects Allah's mercy, showing that spiritual growth is not limited by physical constraints. The heart learns that what matters most is the intention and presence of heart behind each act of worship. By practicing this consistency, believers develop discipline, resilience, and a deeper appreciation for the divine wisdom embedded in everyday life. The ayahs serve as a reminder that spiritual elevation is attainable through thoughtful, mindful engagement with Allah's words, even outside traditional frameworks of worship. Regular engagement with these ayahs also enhances spiritual perception, enabling the believer to recognize Allah's signs and guidance in daily life. By maintaining this connection, the heart becomes more attuned to subtle shifts, blessings, and protections that may otherwise go unnoticed. A timely opportunity, an unexpected resolution to a challenge, or a sudden clarity of thought can all be understood as manifestations of divine assistance when approached with mindfulness and reflection. The practice nurtures gratitude, patience, and a heightened sense of trust, reinforcing the understanding that every moment, even those filled with hardship or uncertainty, carries potential for divine wisdom and growth. Ultimately, the regular recitation of these two ayahs prepares the believer for both the visible and unseen blessings of Allah. It instills hope in the heart, strengthens reliance on Him, and nurtures an enduring sense of spiritual resilience. By engaging sincerely and consistently, the believer demonstrates readiness for Allah's mercy and guidance, creating an inner state of preparedness for the unfolding of blessings, protection, and opportunities that are perfectly timed according to divine wisdom. It is in this consistency, reflection, and surrender that the heart truly experiences the transformative power of these verses, mirroring the spiritual depth and reward of tahajjud while cultivating a profound connection with the Creator.